LinkedIn presents.
When you're asking a question like, do I belong? Can I do it? Or am I inadequate? There's nothing wrong with you. You're not irrational or disordered or weird. You're normal. You're responding to the world as it is. But even as that question is reasonable, it needn't be true. It's answers you're looking for. Because questions like these are reasonable, we can learn to predict when people will ask them. And when we see these questions clearly, we can learn to address them with grace and dignity. And that can transform our lives.
It's Friday, and I'm Michael Kovnat. Welcome to the Next Big Idea Daily, the show that helps you live smarter, healthier, and brighter. Now, is everything perfect in your life? Your career, your relationships, everything's as it should be? Or are there some areas in your life where you'd like to make some big changes? Well, making those changes actually might be easier than you think. In his new book, Ordinary Magic, The Science of How We Can Achieve Big Change with Small Acts, Stanford psychologist Gregory Walton reveals how subtle psychological shifts, what he calls wise interventions, can have an outsized impact. Whether it's a few well-chosen words to a child or a moment of self-reflection before an argument, these little nudges can build trust, strengthen connections, and unlock human potential. Mindset author Carol Dweck calls Greg one of the great psychologists of our time, and he'll join us to share his big ideas right after this quick break.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Jessie Hempel, host of the Hello Monday podcast. Start your week with the Hello Monday podcast. We'll navigate career pivots. We'll learn where happiness fits in. Listen to Hello Monday with me, Jessie Hempel, on the LinkedIn Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Little things can make a big difference. Ordinary Magic is about change and how to create it. Sometimes problems in our lives can seem fixed, like there's nothing you could do to make things better. Persistent struggles in school, conflict in a relationship, self-doubt. But we don't just have to wish things were better. It starts by noticing our little thoughts and feelings. I call that surfacing, and then creating the right space to address these thoughts and feelings. Say you're married. It's a happy marriage, but you and your partner have a persistent conflict. Maybe you wonder, sometimes, are they disrespecting me? Will you have the right space to think through your conflict? One study found that 7 minutes answering 3 reflection questions every 4 months for a year made conflict less distressing for couples. That stabilized marriages. 21 minutes to save a marriage, read the headline. Or say you're a teacher. You work hard for your students, giving them feedback so they can improve. But many of your students don't take up that opportunity. Why not? Another study found that just 17 words increased the rate at which 7th graders took up their teachers' feedback to improve their work for a higher grade, and increased their trust in teachers over the rest of the school year. Change like this can feel magical, but this is ordinary magic. These solutions require no special degree. They're the kind of thing all of us can learn from and put to work in our own lives. Everyone can be an ordinary magician, and all of us benefit from ordinary magicians around us. What this magic requires is a deeper understanding of ourselves, understanding the icky questions that pop up as we travel through life, and learning how, individually and together, we can answer these questions well. To understand these solutions, it helps to understand how problems develop. Big problems can start small. A little thought, a shadow of doubt. Often it starts with a question, but then things spiral out of control. Suppose you wonder, even just a little, does my partner disrespect me? Left to their devices, questions like this drive us down. If you think a fight might mean your partner doesn't love you, then you might hold back and be less forgiving next time. If they're late, again, you might feel confirmed in their lack of respect. Then you withdraw or lash out. That undermines a relationship. Or say you're the first in your family to go to college. You wonder, do people like me belong in college? Then say you're excluded from a social outing. A professor says something unkind. You think, maybe it's true. Maybe people like me don't belong here. You stop going to office hours. Stop asking questions in class. Skip that welcome event for a student group. Fast forward, and 6 months later, you don't have close friends on campus. No mentor to guide your growth. You're thinking about dropping out. Negative questions make us spiral down. They make themselves true. And then they put our relationships, our achievements, our health at risk. That's terrible. But wonderfully, when we understand this dynamic, we can reverse the spiral. We can spiral up. Change starts when we understand the questions we face or another person faces. Let me share an example. When our kids were little, we took them to and from a campus daycare by bike. So at the end of a long day, we'd bike home, the kids on tiny 12-inch wheels. Sometimes they'd stop 2 blocks from home and 20 minutes past dinner time. They'd sit on the curb and wail, "I'm tired." I thought of research by my good friend Veronica Job. Veronica showed that sometimes people take little cues of tiredness as a reason to stop, to pull back from their efforts, even on things they care about. It's like we have range anxiety. You feel you're running out when you work hard on something long before you reach any actual limit. Then you hold back. So I decided to reframe the meaning of feeling tired to them. I took to saying, it's when you're tired and you keep going that you get stronger. It didn't always work, but I think it helped. A little later, our daughter Lucy was trying to bike up a steep and winding path. On our way home, we'd taken to bringing chalk to mark how far she'd gotten. One time, Lucy not only beat her previous record, but crushed it. As Oliver and I whooped and cheered, Lucy said, "You know how I did it? When I wanted to stop, I kept going." Isn't that lovely? In that story, I offered Lucy a new way to think about her efforts. That tiredness need not be a reason to stop, that she could keep going. That tiredness might even be an opportunity to get stronger. That freed Lucy to succeed. She used that way of thinking to achieve her goal. As I write in the book, thinking is for becoming. This kind of change, it's quiet, not loud, but it frees us to spiral up. A small initial insight, a small change in direction, can lead us to vast new lands. It's easy to think that feeling tired is a reason to stop. The icky questions we ask, they're reasonable. They come from the context we're in. Of course, the first-gen college student wonders if people like her belong in college. Her family literally hasn't belonged in college before. That reasonableness is important. First, it means we're not alone. When you're asking a question like, do I belong? Can I do it? Or am I inadequate? There's nothing wrong with you. You're not irrational or disordered or weird. You're normal. You're responding to the world as it is. But even as that question is reasonable, it needn't be true. It's answers you're looking for. Because questions like these are reasonable, we can learn to predict when people will ask them. And when we see these questions clearly, we can learn to address them with grace and dignity. And that can transform our lives. In one study, my colleagues and I developed a 60-minute session early in college to help new students address the question, do people like me belong in college? Students of color are often underrepresented in college, and sometimes they're represented as less able and less deserving. So that question is most pressing for them. The exercise we developed shared stories from older students, which showed how almost everyone worries at first if they belong in college in one way or another. Students reflected on belonging worries, why they're normal, and how they can get better with time. That improved African American students' achievement through the next 3 years of college. 10 years out, they reported being more satisfied in their lives, more successful in their careers, and taking on more leadership roles in their communities. That's an hour to change a life. That didn't happen because students just remembered that experience. At the end of college, students couldn't even remember it clearly. And they didn't credit any of their success to it. Instead, addressing a persistent question about belonging, a reasonable question that comes from the history of exclusion in education, freed students to build friendships and mentor relationships. And those supports helped them succeed. The most toxic questions are about who you are and who you can become. In the most difficult circumstances, when people look at you and all they see is something horrible, there must be space to tell your own story, a chance to tell that story in a way that other people can hear, a way to make that story real together. This is work we do together. For more than a decade, I've worked with leaders in the Oakland Unified School District to support students coming back to school from juvenile detention. This is a circumstance that poses terrible questions to both students and teachers. These are students who have been told, more or less unambiguously, you do not belong here. You are not wanted here. And it's easy for teachers to wonder, will this student care? Will they try? Or will they just cause trouble? So we created a platform for young people, a way to introduce themselves to an educator of their choosing, to share their values in school, like to be a good role model for a younger sibling, their goals, and challenges they face. We find young people use this platform to say, basically, I'm a good kid and I want to succeed, but I need help. Can you help me? Then we present this information to the educator the child chose. We say, all kids need support from adults. This child has chosen you. Here's what they would like you to know about them. Please help. And then we say thank you for your work. We find this letter opens the hearts and arms of educators to a justice-involved youth. It helps them see that this is a kid who wants to succeed. And they respond with support. In a first trial, this approach reduced the rate at which students recidivated to juvenile detention by 40 percentage points, from 69% to 29%, through the next school term. It's the most powerful way I know to remedy mistrust in school. This is the change we need to help us achieve what we want to achieve, to do what we want to do, and to become who we want to be. It's a way to help other people become in their journeys too, and in the process, we can make our society a little healthier, a little more together, and a little kinder.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, listeners, you can get yourself a copy of Ordinary Magic at your favorite bookstore. And if you got something out of today's show, please leave us a rating or review to help others find it. That does it for us this week. These episodes were written by me, Michael Kovnat, and edited by Kayla Bissinger. The Next Big Idea Daily is proud to be part of the LinkedIn Podcast Network. We'll see you Monday.